we're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome into the College Football Today recap show here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Dubs Anderson alongside good friend Rich Cirminiello to take you through the Saturday slate and get you up to speed with everything you need to know what is the ins and outs of the college football landscape. And what a great time of year it is. We've got Hunter taking out the Heisman special season there for Travis Hunter. He takes out the top gong. It's bowl season. We're getting set for bowling and big bill to UNC. Didn't see that one coming. But let's start with the news of the hour. Travis Hunter gets the big score. He's up on stage. He's thanking Coach Prime. He's thanking Lil Weezy, Lil Wayne in the building. But I guess no real shock after it's all said and done there, Rich.
Yeah, hey, Dubs, always great to be on with you. No, not a shock. Certainly over the last couple of weeks, the books essentially took it off the board a couple of weeks ago. It was such a sure thing, but the vote actually wound up being closer than I thought. Ashton Genty, closest vote in over a decade, so he did compete hard, finishing in second place. I think when we go back to like this time last year, when we were talking, Dubs, about, 2024 ridiculously early candidates, I think what really stood out to me is just some of the names that wound up on the top 10. I just look at some of these names here. Was anybody talking about Cam Scatabo, Bryson Daly from Army? I love the fact that voters celebrated a pure tight end in Tyler Warren, Curtis Rourke, the transfer from Ohio, Kyle McCord, another transfer for Ohio State at Syracuse, finishes in the top 10. A lot of the familiar faces that we expected. No Jalen Milroe, no Carson Beck, no Jackson Dart. In fact, no SEC players for the first time since 2005. So really interesting vote, but hard to deny Travis Hunter. I mean, I don't know if we will see anytime soon a two-way player as talented as Hunter on offense or defense. Either way, he was a game changer.
Yeah, and interested to get your thoughts here, Rich. For Travis Hunter, truly phenomenal. May never see that kind of talent level at the college ranks ever again. Two-way dual superstar, but How do you expect that game to translate to the pros? And would you expect that some of these teams up in the NFL who are, pretty hungry for a couple of quarterbacks, would they take that leap and take Hunter with that one spot?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I was thinking about that before we went on air tonight. As talented as he is and as incredible and rare that it's been to see a two-way player fully justified as the Heisman Trophy winner, he's not going to be a two-way player on Sundays. It looks like he's going to be a wide receiver and a wide receiver only. Would you take a wide receiver number one overall? Like that's the question that I have. As a college player, he's unique. He stands alone. But as an NFL player, I don't know if I would invest the number one overall pick on a wide receiver, especially since there are so many good receivers in this class. There will be again in 2025 and beyond. I would look quarterback. Now, not sure who that guy's going to be, Dubs. It could be his teammate Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Could be Cam Ward. We could see other candidates that might make their way up. We're still waiting on NFL early entries into the draft, but I still would say at this point, as good as he is, I don't know if I would invest the number one overall pick, especially if you're a team that needs players everywhere, in Travis Hunter. So I still would say my money would go on one of the quarterbacks, depending upon what happens in the pre-draft process.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Look at teams like the New York Giants or over there in Sin City for the Raiders, much better suited in taking a quarterback with that top spot. You threw out a couple of names there for who was in the mix, and well done to Travis Hunter and the Colorado Buffaloes. I wrote them off at the start of the year, but they really have exceeded all expectations there. So well done to Coach Prime, and interested to see what that next step is going to look like. But we did have some great football earlier today. Navy, the midshipmen, getting it done over Army. And this was an exciting game, Rich. 31-13. Really wasn't a lot of passing yards to get the bettors or the public excited. But I'll tell you what, Blake Horvath, quarterback for Navy, he really got after it with those wheels.
Yeah, I mean, this is a special event too, Dubs. I've loved the fact that it pretty much stands alone. We have a bowl game going on tonight. We had FCS playoffs, but in terms of FBS regular season, Army Navy has that slot by itself, and it really is a special game. I think it's the best rivalry in all of college football. USC, UCLA, or an Auburn, Alabama would get, but this is everything to these two academies. Army came in with more publicity, the ranked team, the team that won the American Athletic Conference last weekend. And I wonder, I don't know, I'd like to get your take on this, Dubs. I mean, did that hurt having to play in a conference championship game last weekend? Did they lose a little something off the fastball? Because Navy's defense, you mentioned Blake Horvath, over 200 yards on the ground. That really was the difference in this game. And by the way, talk about anomalies. How about this game cashing the over? That happens like once every generation, and it happened today. I got in at 40.5, took the over. They squeaked over at 44. So that was a rarity for these two academies as well.
Yeah, that's a gutsy play by you, Rich. I would not take the overs for this spot. If you look at the historical data, that's been the common theme: unders, unders, unders. And when I looked at the box score going through the first quarter, I was playing catch up. I'm like, well, there can't be a lot of points in this game. But suddenly, Navy just figured out a way to get it downfield. Their star quarterback was just getting out of the pocket, and they really couldn't contain him. So that's a big win for Navy, 31-13 over Army. And Rich, we highlighted before we came on air on the betting side of things, it is so challenging coming into bowl season to know what you're really going to get. You had a matchup like this one today where I guess there was more on the line than we've ever seen before. And now it's not so much of, trying to prognosticate that who's trending in the right direction. It's trying to figure out who's actually going to be there out on the field trying to get the reps in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no, we did talk about it before we came on the air. You got to be very careful. You and I compared it to NFL preseason. It's about as predictable as an NFL game in mid-August because, there's so many factors at play here. And this is outside of the playoff games. I'm so happy we have meaningful December and January football when it comes to the 12-team playoff because I don't know what we're going to get. You have so many opt-outs, either kids preparing for the NFL draft, talented day 1, day 2 players. You have a ton of kids in the portal. Portal opened up December 9th, closes December 28th. Those portal players are not going to be playing in their bowl games. In fact, earlier today, we learned that the Marshall Thundering Herd, they were supposed to be playing Army, I think it was December 28th in a bowl game. They had so many opt-outs after their coach, Charles Huff, left for Southern Miss. They don't feel like they're going to have the depth to play. The entire team opted out. So Marshall no longer playing in a bowl game. They're going to be replaced by 5-7 Louisiana Tech. So postseason in college football is a bit of a mess. So I would say buyer beware if you want to wager on any of these non-playoff games.
Now, Rich, if I were to have you set the odds market at the start of the week, saying, well, you're catching up with Dubsy on Saturday night to recap all of the college action, how likely would it have been that we're talking about Bill Belichick being the head coach of the Tar Heels going into next season? Early thoughts on this one before we go to the break, and we'll jump a little further into it on the other side, Rich.
Yeah, an absolute shocker. Did not expect to see Bill Belichick at the college ranks. Kudos to UNC for putting a package together. I have a lot of opinions on this. I want to get your take on it as well, but it will be interesting in Chapel Hill, now Chapel Bill, at least for the foreseeable future.
Chapel Bill, somebody go and cut the old sleeves off that sweatshirt. Bill Belichick to the college football ranks, things you love to see. We're going to hit a quick timeout. On the other side, we're talking bowl games. First round of the college football playoffs coming up. Stick with us.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the College Football Today recap show here on the SportsGrid Network. Super Saturday, Dubs Anderson alongside Rich Cirminiello, getting you up to speed, everything you need to know in the college football world. And Rich, before we went to the break, highlighted the big news coming across this week. Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl champion, known for that dynasty that he crafted up with the New England Patriots, is set to head over to Chapel Hill I did not believe this was actually going to come to fruition, Rich. I thought it was a bit of a smoke show. I thought maybe it was to set, try and garner a bit of a buzz so he could put himself back in the media conversation and then sort of catapult back into the NFL for next year. But it is what it is. What's the expectations for Bill coming in at year one? Certainly going to get a couple of young players interested in that pro way of learning.
Yeah, you and I were thinking the same way. I thought it was a smokescreen. I thought it was a way to sort of gin up his ask in the NFL. Look, I'm getting attention from North Carolina. A legend, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great coaches at the NFL level of all time. I just don't see the fit. Now, listen, if it was 10 years ago, it would look even worse because the college game was much further away from the pro game a decade ago, 2 decades ago. It's getting closer to an NFL style of game with NIL, with revenue sharing, transfer portal. It's a lot more similar to the NFL, but at this stage of his life, with all that he's achieved, with the personality that he has, does he really want to recruit and deal with 18 and 19-year-old kids? I mean, this is a very different world than the NFL. Even though it's trending towards pro football, this is different. These are young kids. These are kids who you might develop and they transfer out at the end of their first year. Or you get that high-profile freshman. He doesn't feel like he's getting enough playing time, so he's going to seek out greener pastures elsewhere. He's a genius. He's a defensive genius, and I want your take on this. I just don't see the fit at the college level. I'll put the under-over in terms of how many years he's in Chapel Hill at 2.5 and might hit the under on this one.
Yeah, we're seeing it the same, Rich, because, I just feel like there's so much volatility with the portal, NIL, and, for Bill Belichick, he's been rewarded for years of performing at the highest, in the highest regard. And at the college ranks, you work with players for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then they're moving on. And then you're suddenly starting to build again where, as we saw at the Patriots, there's the Bill Belichick of doing things. And you're buying into that culture for, I guess, rewards at the back end of that. So I got question marks galore. I think it's a totally different animal that Bill is working with, but obviously a student of the game and has one of the highest IQs that we've ever seen there with a clipboard in hand. So excited for it. And again, I feel like, a lot of people have knocked the new look college football playoffs, and there's a couple of pundits also knocking this move for Bill, but it gives us more storylines. I think it's a lot more exciting week in, week out. There's a lot more juice, especially at this time of year, Rich. So if it's not Bill Belichick, in terms of the coaching carousel, what's been another standout for you? Who could be another big name on the move as we move through the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, the things that have really stood out for me, first off, there's this you can go home again sort of concept. Rich Rodriguez, who became a national storyline in Morgantown, West Virginia, going back to West Virginia, 17-year hiatus. It's going to be interesting to see how he does. He just led Jacksonville State to a Conference USA championship, so he still can coach. Interested, Dubs, in Scott Frost. Remember, Scott Frost led UCF to a perfect season, went back to his alma mater, Nebraska, cratered, did horribly. He's now back in Orlando, so some interesting storylines there. How about UNLV's coach Barry Odom? Great job for 2 seasons. He's going to try to resurrect Purdue. But for me, the biggest storyline so far in terms of the coaching carousel has been the rise of FCS coaches. You see it more and more that programs, FBS programs, are now dipping into the FCS. They're finding these coaches at smaller schools. Look at what Kurt Cignetti did at the FCS level. Now he's in the playoffs with Indiana. Look at what Chris Kleiman did, FCS. Now he's had success in the Big 12 with Kansas State. So there's a slew of coaches coming from schools, Dubs, like Davidson and Butler and North Dakota State, who I think could be very successful at the FBS level.
Yeah, very excited to see that next step with a couple of new faces in new places there as well. Now, Rich, this is a recap show, but we're doing a lot of previewing on this week's edition. We do have bowl action getting into gear there on Tuesday, into Wednesday, into Thursday, and then we got the first round of the college football playoffs kicking off next weekend there. So early thoughts of some of the midweek specials here, Rich. Anything stand out? We've got Memphis going against West Virginia in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl on Wednesday. It's Western Kentucky going against James Madison, and then we've got California squaring off, Cal going against UNLV in the Art of Sport LA Bowl. Any of these midweek bowling sessions got your attention?
Yeah, I'll rip off 3 picks for these 3 games. Again, pay very close attention to any of these games. See who's playing, see who's opting out, check the injury reports as you always do before these games. I like Memphis over West Virginia. I think it means more to the Tigers. West Virginia with a slew of opt-outs, and their coach Neil Brown has been fired. Give me James Madison over Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, almost 24 opt-outs for this game. I think JMU will be playing hard. Laying just 7.5, I think that line will rise before that game on Wednesday. And I like UNLV. Cal is without their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. He's in the transfer portal. He'll be highly coveted, by the way. I like UNLV. Even without their coach, they're in better shape in terms of opt-outs. Getting 1.5 points. I'll take the slight dog in this one.
48.5 is that total, projected to be one of the closest bowl games of the week there for the odds makers. Cal going against UNLV. So that's on Wednesday afternoon. On Friday, it is opening round of the playoffs. Please look on the other side.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the College Football Today recap show here on the SportsGrid Network. Dubs, Rich, taking you through the Super Saturday slate and getting you set for the college football playoffs. Rich, we teased it prior going to break there. Indiana taking on Notre Dame Friday afternoon, and this looks to be a doozy to kick off the new look bracket.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup. I have been on Notre Dame for a while now. Been very impressed by the way they've played since the Week 2 loss against Northern Illinois. Notre Dame just strikes me, Dubs, as a team that's built for the postseason. Defense travels well regardless of weather. Good ground games travel well, typically regardless of weather. Jeremiah Love, Riley Leonard on the ground. So I like Notre Dame, but man, Kurt Cignetti can coach. That offense is very good. I think in the end, I just think ND wears out Indiana and pulls away for a victory. I think it's a double-digit victory for Notre Dame, and I think they're a legit contender to make it to the national championship game.
You've seen enough, Rich, to like the look of their bracket, going off how it stands. They would square off with Georgia if they were to get that win and advance to the next round. They've got the pieces to go on the road and pull a result.
Yeah, I really think so. I think they have found their identity. It's not going to be a sexy offense. It's not going to be a prolific passing game. Riley Leonard is just not that kind of quarterback. But the offensive line has gelled. They lost players to the NFL draft, Dubs. They lost their starting left tackle before the season began, Charles Jagasaw. He was supposed to be a pillar at left tackle, and they've just gotten better and better as the season has gone on. I love this defense. They've overcome injuries there as well. They lost their best cornerback in Benjamin Morrison midway through the season. I just think they're focused. Marcus Freeman is maturing as a head coach. I just don't think Indiana has enough in the trenches to keep up with Notre Dame. And then I'm glad you brought it up because next up would be Georgia. And as of now, we don't know if Carson Beck is healthy. And Gunnar Stockton might be the starting quarterback. Don't know what to expect from him. I certainly don't think Carson Beck's going to be 100%. Personally, I don't think he's going to play in that game. So it would not surprise me at all if Notre Dame wins not just this first game, but the quarterfinal as well. Semifinal, I should say.
Yeah, that's a big shout. But they certainly do look like they've got that moxie there in Georgia. If they are banged up, then who knows? They could pull that sneak attack early on Saturday coming up. SMU squaring off against Penn State. Nittany Lions there. They're booked as 8.5-point favorites. They'll be playing at home at Beaver Stadium with a total of 53.5. How do you expect this one to fare going against the overachieving Mustangs?
Yeah, and I think they're going to continue to overachieve. I know they had a very difficult first half against Clemson in the ACC title game, but what we saw down the stretch was more symbolic of who SMU is. Tremendous speed on both sides of the ball. They do a great job of getting after the quarterback. I don't have a ton of faith in Drew Aller, the Penn State quarterback. I think this game is actually close. It's going to be tough. SMU has never been in this position before. It's going to be a whiteout in Happy Valley. Penn State's got a tremendous defense. We've already talked about Tyler Warren, the best tight end in the country. I think Penn State wins, but I think SMU is going to keep this close. I'm going to take the 8.5 in this game.
And Rich, how big is that for you, on the betting side of things, looking at how some of these games could fare? Playoff atmosphere in a situation like that, a stadium like that, it is going to be a raucous atmosphere, even tougher for some of these visiting teams going on the road.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State is always difficult. It would be even harder if this was a night game, but during the day, just the same. And how about weather? SMU not particularly accustomed to the cold Pennsylvania weather. It'll be a cold, brisk, probably 30 to 35 and windy. This is weather that SMU's not used to. Communications will be difficult. Pre-snap communications, just being able to hear themselves, Kevin Jennings in particular at quarterback. So it's a difficult setting, but I like the athletes on SMU. I think this one is going to be close. I see Penn State by 7, which is why I'm going to take those 8.5 points.
I like that. Penn State at 8.5, second biggest favorite there for the first round of the playoffs. Biggest favorite, surprise, surprise, the Longhorns, Texas. We're at home taking on Clemson over there in Austin. This one going off midday there on Saturday afternoon. And we're going to sneak in a quick timeout. More to come on the other side. Can the Longhorns hook them?
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into college football today, the recap show here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Dubs Anderson alongside Rich Cirminiello, and there is a lot going on in the college football world. Travis Hunter takes out the Heisman. The best player in college football has been awarded this evening. It's bowl season. We're going bowling. Big Bill to UNC and Army-Navy. What a game that was there. Navy coming up for the big score, dominating Army late in that one, 31-13. But, Rich, we teased it off the top of the show. We talked a little Travis Hunter and how that game may parallel to the professional ranks into the NFL. And I cannot believe we're already at that time of the year when we're speaking about how these players are going to be drafted, what teams are looking for what skill set and what tools may be better suited. But in terms of looking at this year's class and trying to, I guess, guesstimate of who's going to take that number one spot, is it all about the quarterbacks? Are they going 1, 2? Is it a matter of what's needed most up there in the NFL?
Obviously it's going to really hinge on who gets the number one overall pick. Right now, the favorites are Vegas and the Giants, and both teams can use a quarterback. I would be very surprised if either went with a non-QB, even though this is not a phenomenal class. I think it's going to be quarterback. Again, I mentioned it, I think, in the first block. Travis Hunter's phenomenal. He's a generational talent. He's a worthy winner of the Heisman Trophy. But unless there's a team that has an established quarterback, let's say, the Jags wind up with the number one overall pick, and they want to pair a wide receiver with Trevor Lawrence, now that makes sense. But, I even think if it's the Jags at number one, you might have teams that would trade up in order to get their quarterback of choice. Now, is it Shedeur? Is it Cam Ward? I lean towards Cam Ward. I think he's the best quarterback in this year's draft. The way he can improvise, I saw enough at Miami this year. The way he led that team back consistently, plays with a lot of poise, a lot of moxie in the pocket. Cam Ward would be my guy. It's not any disrespect to Shedeur. I think it's going to be a quarterback, and if I'm putting money right now, I think it's going to be Cam Ward.
What kind of quarterback would you see, Shedeur Sanders becoming in the NFL? What would that transition look like? And I guess what has been the positives from what he has done at the college level? Because, week in, week out, there's, a lot of talk about what's done on the field, off the field. Coach Prime, he takes, I guess, a lot of that spotlight and shine away. You're playing alongside the now eventual Heisman winner in Travis Hunter. But what's the skill set that stands out for you with Shedeur Sanders, and at minus 125, I mean, it's going to be tough for him not to go with that one spot.
Yeah, I think right now, it's a great question, by the way, because I've seen the development going back to the Jackson State days to 2 years at Colorado. I think he's gotten exponentially better, has shown he can make all the throws, Dubs, plays with a tremendous amount of maturity. He's a winning quarterback. Huge reason why this team made the turnaround this year after just winning 3 games a year ago. One of the things that stands out that you really have to watch film, it's not going to show up in a box score, is he is really tough in the pocket. I mean, you would think Deion's son, Deion wasn't always the toughest player on the field. He was the most dynamic, but he wasn't the guy who was going to, lower his shoulder and lower the boom out of the secondary. You think Shedeur might be a little bit on the soft side. That is not the case. I mean, he got treated like a rag doll last year. Offensive line was improved this year, but he stands tall in the pocket. He stares down pressure. I really like the makeup of this kid. I think the only knock right now is, do you worry about a little bit of prima donna? I mean, we've seen some of that in Boulder. We've seen some of that from really the Sanders family. That would be the only thing. Deion has talked about getting involved in that process, trying to sort of hand pick who his son is going to play for. So some of the off-field stuff would be my only concern. On-field, though, I think he's a terrific quarterback.
And Rich, I mean, there's 2 ways it can go for a college football quarterback into the pros, and we've seen the case study from this year in the NFL. King Caleb Williams, all the buzz, all the fanfare. What could go wrong in Chicago? And then Jaden Daniels has also been fantastic, but polar opposite has been Bo Nix, the Denver Broncos, who looks like the consummate professional who just goes about his business week in, week out, and suddenly, we're at the back end of the NFL season, you're thinking, well, Bo Nix is an absolute superstar. And we saw glimpses of that at Oregon as well last year.
Yeah, I'll even throw Drake May into the mix. I mean, this class from 2024 is off to a really good start. I think Caleb Williams will get there with better coaching and a new staff in 2025. That's not the case for next April, at least right now. We don't know who's coming out. We don't know if Drew Aller's going to be in the mix, but it does not look like an epic class of quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and then a lot of question marks. Again, this time last year, we were talking about Carson Beck was the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick, but right now, no one is having those discussions, not after a dozen picks. And now an injury, we got Jalen Milroe. I missed him before. Jalen Milroe plus 4,000. Not even sure if he's going to come out at this point. I think it would serve him well if he stayed with Kalen DeBoer for one more season in Tuscaloosa.
So there it is, bettors. We saw the odds flashed up. It's early days for that futures market, but Shedeur Sanders projected to be that number 1 draft pick, minus 125 over this year's Heisman winner, Travis Hunter, his teammate at plus 250, and Cam Ward sitting at plus 380. It's bowl season. We've got bowl games coming up this week. It's also the first round of the college football playoffs. First year of having 12 teams in the playoffs. We've already previewed a couple of games. Indiana taking on the Fighting Irish Friday afternoon. SMU going against Penn State on Saturday. But let's get this thing started, Rich. Clemson taking on Texas. This may be the matchup of the weekend for me. 11.5. It's a big line there for the Longhorns at home in Austin, considering they came off an overtime loss to Georgia with that last performance.
Yeah, I like Clemson. I might be a little bit partial. I was fortunate last weekend. I had money on Clemson, got a little bit lucky, to be honest, on a 56-yard walk-off field goal. I'm going back to Clemson next weekend. I listen, I know Texas is the better team, and they've had the better season. But, Clemson still has a lot of blue chippers on both sides of the ball. I think they've got the better quarterback in this game, quite frankly, in Cade Klubnik. He goes back to Austin, his hometown, to face the Longhorns. This is going to be an extra special game for him. Clemson was banged up at the end of the season. These couple of weeks off, I think, will really benefit them. I think it's too many points. And to be honest, Dubs, look at Texas over the last month. 3 of the last 4 games failed to score more than 20 points. I have my concerns about Quinn Ewers. Here's a prediction for you. I don't think this is something that can be wagered. Maybe there's some odd prop bets out there. I think we're going to see Arch Manning at some point. I think Sark, it may be in this game. Maybe it's in the next one against Arizona State. I think at some point Sark's going to pull Arch Manning off the bench and potentially say, this could be your run. Let's get a head start on 2025. He just offers something different, particularly athleticism outside the pocket. I just am not sold on Quinn Ewers right now.
Yeah, maybe a couple of specially designed plays there for the young quarterback as well. So that's going to be your biggest favorite going into the first round of the playoffs. It's Texas at home taking on Clemson, and Rich is thinking they're a little vulnerable on Super Saturday, not too far away. With that, we're going to sneak in a quick break. On the other side, more college football playoff talk continues and a little bracketology. Who's squaring off? Who could survive an advance?
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into college football today, the recap show here on the SportsGrid Network. Dubs Anderson alongside Rich Cirminiello, and taking a look at the first round of the college football playoffs. Another fantastic matchup awaits Saturday afternoon. It's the Volunteers, Tennessee, taking on Ohio State. Both teams sitting at 10-2 for the season. The number sits at 7.5. Ohio State at home going to have to cover a touchdown. Early thoughts on this one, Rich?
Yeah, I have money already on Ohio State to win the national championship. I think they've been seething since November 30th, that loss to Michigan. I can't look past all of the talent that they have. I still think this is the best roster in college football. With all due respect to Oregon, I think they're going to get a rematch in the Rose Bowl against the Ducks. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think this will be a low-scoring game. Thinking about, I wanted to get in the under at 47.5. I see it slipped to 46.5. I might still put something on that under 46.5. Two terrific defenses. My big concern, Dubs, for Tennessee is one-dimensional offense is not going to work against this Ohio State defense. Dylan Sampson's one of the best running backs in the country. I admit that. But Nico Iamaleava just, I know he was strong down the stretch, back-to-back 4-touchdown games, but that was against UTEP and Vanderbilt. I think he's going to have problems in the passing game. I expect Ohio State and Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, to just throw everything into the box to stop the legs of Nico and the legs of Dylan Sampson. I think Tennessee struggles to score. Low-scoring game. Ohio State wins. I could see something on the order of 24-13, 27-13 Ohio State. I think they're going to build a head of steam. And that Rose Bowl, which really should not be a second-round game, that is unfair for Oregon as the top seed. That Rose Bowl could be the national championship a week later.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, Rich. I mean, what kind of advantage are they losing by playing in that venue? And is Oregon still the team to beat for you? As we can see here on the odds board, the shortest price at plus 350 over Texas, over Ohio State. So the winner between the Volunteers and Ohio State will advance to take on the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, listen, I think Oregon's still the team to beat, and I'm a big fan of Oregon. Dan Lanning, Dylan Gabriel, speed and size and elite recruits on both sides of the ball, so taking nothing away from Oregon. But unlike the first matchup, which was a one-pointer that Ohio State was driving for that go-ahead field goal before Will Howard slid and the clock ran out, that was a very closely, hotly contested game in Eugene. This one would be close to you on the West Coast. Pasadena, I would give a slight edge to Ohio State, but I think right now those are the two best teams in the country, the Buckeyes and the Ducks, 32-31 first time out. I expect to see them to play again. Tennessee, nice season, just a little more balance on offense in order to solve that Ohio State defense.
What's the standout for you, Rich? Taking a look at the bracket, we've highlighted sort of one of the pathways towards the national championship going through Oregon. It's Clemson going against Texas. They would square off against Arizona if they were to get through to the quarterfinals. We've got Georgia awaiting the winner of Indiana and Notre Dame. SMU, Penn State, winner would survive to take on Boise State. Cannot believe they've just got that pathway straight in to the quarterfinals. But taking a look at the bracket and trying to project of who's got a nice looking pathway to make a bit of a run, is there any standout for you?
Yeah, there is. I'll give you two thoughts here. Number one, I think the best path is Penn State. And I don't want to disrespect the SMUs or the Boise States, but if you're a 6 seed and you get a chance to open at home against the ACC runner-up in SMU does not have a true quality win this season. They have not beaten a ranked opponent all season long. And then week 2 would be Boise State. And again, I love what the Broncos have done. Big fan of Ashton Genty as he tries to break Barry Sanders' record. But SMU and Boise State in the first 2 games is a relatively easy path for Penn State. The odd thing here, Dubs, is the hardest path belongs to Oregon, which is the top seed, because no one is going to have a tougher second-round opponent amongst the top 4 seeds than Oregon will, which is really bizarre to me. I mean, I would rather be Texas facing Arizona State, Penn State facing Boise State, or Who am I missing here? Or even Notre Dame facing Georgia without Carson Beck. So I think Oregon having to play likely Ohio State is the toughest path, which is something that has to be fixed in the future. What I would like to see would not be reseeding of the playoffs. I'm not a fan of the top 4 conference winners getting automatic buys because Boise State and Arizona State are not 2 of the top 4 teams.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly doesn't make sense there because once we get to those quarterfinal matchups, and you can see them waiting within the FanDuel Sportsbook, they're not going to be listed as favorites. They're going to be outside dogs, and that should tell you enough just on the betting numbers that they're really not in the top 4 of college football. But there it is again, national title odds. It's Oregon, the Ducks up top there, plus 350. They're going to play one less game than a couple of familiar foes here. We've got Ohio State and Georgia sitting at plus 500, and the Nittany Lions at plus 550. Could be a team to build a little bit of a run there. And Rich, with that, we're almost going to hit another commercial timeout, but who would be that long shot, that sleeper? If they get hot, they could really rattle a couple of the big contenders. Is it Penn State for you?
I'm going to go Notre Dame at plus 700. If you're looking for something outside of the chalk, give me the Fighting Irish. I think they're going to beat Georgia in the second round. And I don't think they have the talent necessarily to win a national championship. But if you're looking for a long shot, I would take the Irish at this point.
I like it. A couple of big prices there. Boise State sitting at 60-1. What about Ashton Jeanty? Could he cover? Could he carry them to the promised land? Well, time will tell. We're stepping in. It was great. We'll get you back here on the other side. That'll wrap up college football today.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into college football today, the recap show here on the SportsGrid Network. Dubs Anderson alongside Rich Cirminiello. It hasn't been the biggest of college slates on the football side of things here this afternoon, but certainly plenty of quality and a couple of big storylines as we're moving into a new week. Bowl action, first round of the playoffs there as well. But Time to play a little contenders, pretenders, Rich. So I want to throw the mic to you. Give us the one team, whether it's the top of the betting board or other, that you're expecting to take out the national championship. I know it's early days. And give us a pretender, one team that absolutely should not be getting the buzz or the attention that the public is showing.
Yeah, I like this. By the way, I apologize, Dubs, with my last name. You nail it every time. That's so difficult. Cirminiello, you nail it every time. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll say contender for me, Ohio State. I think you have to have a short memory with the Buckeyes. Tough loss against Michigan, but I think they're going to be angry and ornery for the next month. So I think they'll start to look like that $20 million NIL-infused roster. The pretender for me is Texas. I love the defense. The offense has been inconsistent. Not saying they won't beat Arizona State in round 2, assuming they beat Clemson in round 1. I just think they're overrated at this point. Look at the numbers here, plus 360, number 2 in terms of odds. I just don't think what we've seen from this team over the past month does not equate to the second best team. The path is manageable, but I think there's a little bit of a hint of pretender when it comes to Texas at this point.
A little pretender-ism. And as we move into the business end here, the playoffs, who's the biggest miss the boat for you, Rich? Is it all about Alabama? You know, regular season has been run and done. You now got the luxury of sitting back of who's playing in these bowl games, who's playing in the college football playoffs. Who's that one team that we're missing, and why are we missing them?
Yeah, the one that surprised me, it's another good question, is Ole Miss. I like Lane Kiffin. I think he's great for the game. He's back to his portal king antics again. He signed more kids out of the portal today. But considering how well he's done in recruiting, both high school recruiting and portal recruiting, I'm a little disappointed that they fell off the map in the second half of the season. Upset loss to Kentucky, out of the mix in terms of the playoffs. I think with Jackson Dart under center and all of the defensive stars that they have, that should have been a playoff team. I think they had a better roster than Alabama this year. So Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, a bit of a disappointment for me, even more so than Alabama when it comes to missing out on the playoffs.
I like it. Yeah, a couple of storied programs that we used to see them being right in the thick of it and certainly will be missed, but it's a sign of the times, especially with that transfer portal. A couple of big schools on a big uptick there as well. Big news coming across this week, and as of this afternoon, Travis Hunter, he takes out the Heisman Award. Bill Belichick now joins the Tar Heels over to UNC. And Rich, before we get out of here, let's have a bit of fun. At the FanDuel Sportsbook, they've already got this market drop. Bill Belichick at UNC over 7.5 wins, plus 114, under 7.5 wins at minus 146. I don't need the deep dive analysis, but considering the Tar Heels are coming off a 6-6 season, what would you project for them going into next year?
Too much of a transition for me, Dubs. I'll take the under. I think that roster is going to be overhauled. He's got to get accustomed to the college game. I'll take the under. I'll put them at 6-6 next year.
I like that 6-6. The unders drops yet again. So we appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. In case you have missed it, we got bowl action galore this week. You can watch and wager along right here with us on the SportsGrid network. And we've got 4 first-round games coming up. On Friday, it's Indiana taking on the Fighting Irish. SMU going against Penn State on Saturday. We'll get to see Clemson. Cade Klubnik going against Quinn Ewers and the Longhorns over there in Austin, and Tennessee going against Ohio State. Rich, always appreciate catching up with you on a Saturday night. Fantastic insight analysis yet again. What does the rest of the Saturday night look like for you, Rich? What are we getting after?
I've got the South Alabama team total over 34.5, and it looks like it's going to be a loss. So I might be sulking for the rest of the night, Dubs.
Hey, we'll find something a little late doors that we can jump back into. Always appreciate the time. Rich Cirminiello, I'm Dubs Anderson. No one in the business breaking it down and doing a better job than you, Rich, my friend. Get excited, bettors. We are going bowling. College football, climbing up for the week.